All right, welcome everyone. This is the SEED program. We are doing another career pathways. So that's a series designed to help provide young adults with information and insight on various professions or careers to consider as they develop their own employment goals and lanes. So today we have Anthony Winters, and I'm going to let him introduce himself to you all.
How you doing? I'm Anthony Winters. I am a structural engineer in design and detailing. I work for a company out in Jackson, Wisconsin called GSI, which is Germantown Iron and Steel.
Okay. How did you get into structural engineering? And also, what is it?
Okay.
For those of us that don't know.
The way I got into it is a kind of a kid from the hood story who made a bad decision, but it turned out good.
Okay.
It's one of those God's plan stories. I felt like every other kid, I was going to be a professional athlete.
Okay.
I was going to play baseball, and maybe like my last month of high school, I made some bad decisions. Couldn't go to the schools I wanted to go to play baseball. So I ended up kind of following in my sister's path. She was going to ITT Tech at the time. Well, no, she had graduated from ITT Tech with a degree in electrical engineering. Some nights she would take me out to school with her, so I kind of saw firsthand what was going on there. I stumbled into their computer lab one day where they were working with this computer program called CAD, which is computer aided drafting.
Okay.
I always loved to draw. I was one of those kids growing up drawing Bart Simpson, Ninja Turtles, and all that. That was me. So when I saw what they were doing on the computer screen, they were basically just drawing on the computer screen. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Never thought it was my thing, but when things kind of fell apart for me, I needed something to go to. I mean, I was like every other high school kid who really didn't know what was going to happen after high school or what I was going to do. But I ended up contacting ITT by myself. I had the interview with them by myself. I went and took the test. And the funny thing, like going to take the test, I got in a car accident and everything. And my grandmother was I went back home and my grandma was like, but go take that test. And I went, still shaking from the car accident, took the test, did well on it. They offered me to come. So I graduated on a Friday. That Monday, I was in school at ITT.
Wow.
And so no summer. That was, that was like, boom, you're an adult now. Like there's no more summers, and so I was in ITT. It was a two-year program.
Okay.
And I got my first degree, my associate's degree in computer aided drafting and design. When you go through that program, you go through mechanical drafting, which is machinery. You go through civil drafting, which is groundwork and roads and things like that. You go through structural drafting, which is what I do now, which is buildings, beams, things like that. So that's how I kind of stumbled upon what I do. What structural drafting and engineering is basically is everything you see around you. Buildings, highways, bridges, railroads. I mean, anything you can think of, cabinetry, are all designed by someone.
Yeah.
I happen to do the structural aspect of it. So I deal with the skeleton of buildings. When you see buildings going up and they're putting those beams up and everything like that, that is me.
Okay.
I design all of that. I design the connections, how beams go together, all the way down to the bolts and nuts. So it's very tedious, and it's work that you cannot just push past, because one false move and buildings don't work and they start doing this and they fall down, and whose fault is it, so it's very tedious work where you have to pay attention. That's why it's called structural engineering and detailing, because you have to pay attention to the details. Everybody goes, so you're an architect? No.
Yeah, right.
No. The way I explain it, and I'm sorry if any architects are going to watch this, but the way I explain it is, the architects make pretty pictures for customers. We make it work.
Okay.
just because that picture looked the way it does doesn't mean it's gonna work. So we get a set of blueprints from engineering and architectural firms, and they say, this is what we want. We open it up, we bypass all the layouts of the rooms and all that. I mean, we need the architectural plans, but we go right to the structural, because we need to know what all the steel members are. We're designing all of that. I think this is a brick building, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
So, depending on what your walls are made of, over each door, there will be like an angle. Well, not these walls, the outer walls. There's an angle to catch. Because if you don't put anything over those doorways, you just put bricks there, what's going to happen?
Oh, it's going to, right.
If you look up, there's always an angle that sits like this, that the bricks sit on, so they can't fall. But that still has to be strong enough. So we have to go through everything like that. If you look outside of this office here, up there you got joist and deck. We have to lay all those joists out, like count up all those pieces of deck. We got to have all that laid out. You know, it has to be designed by somebody. That is us.
So, I mean, what a incredible story.
Yeah.
Because to stumble upon something that became a career, and just thinking about what you were saying, it makes me wonder, you know, there's certain, I'm sure, skills and characteristics that a structural engineer needs. Did you feel like you possessed that going like into it, or like were there certain areas in high school that you really liked? Because it just doesn't seem like something that everyone would just fall into, right?
Yeah. So one thing I was taught by my grandmother was, if you can do math, you can do anything. So I loved math.
Okay.
I paid attention to math. I may not have paid attention in every class, but math and English were two things. Like, you got to be able to articulate yourself.
Yep.
Got to know math. You can do any job, and that's what she told me. So in my field, math is critical. You're going to take a lot of math. You're going to take some hard math, but what I found out in high school is, if you pay attention from the beginning, it ain't that hard. You know, because you paid attention, so you understand where to go. But yeah, it's just math and just being creative. It's the creativity. If anybody out there who loves to draw, that's where I love to be creative. Like, I see things differently than the next person. I always say, like, my boss even says, like, I don't know how you, because I do all of my work in 3D. Yeah. So I can see my buildings all through and through. I can tell you if it's gonna work or if it's not. A lot of people who've been doing this a lot longer than me, they still do it in 2D, which is just looking at as lines on papers. And that to me don't work. I take those lines and in my head, I bring it out here and I just see it. I see it all go together, and it works for me. So that's the creative part of my mind that like loves that. You gotta have that creativity.
Right. And so thinking about your schooling, you said that you started at ITT Tech, their 2-year program. With an associate's, did you then transfer, or how did that work for you?
So after ITT, I was working for a company, and they actually got me to go to MSOE. Get some things done, get some classes done there. I did those classes, got done there. Worked for another company, and this is the thing: when you get to a certain level and you're doing good at companies, they'll pay for you to get more education, which is amazing.
Yes.
Because a lot of us come out of college and everything and so much debt.
Yep.
That now you're working just to pay it back. So a lot of these companies will pay. And then I went to another company years later who put me in classes at UWM. Construction classes. Did those. Got all my certificates for those. So it started as, yes, ITT, just that CAD degree. A lot of high schools in our suburban areas, and maybe I think Bradley Tech, actually have computer-aided drafting classes. A lot of the inner city doesn't, which I hate. Yeah. But yeah, like a lot of schools do have it. I know Shorewood does. I know Brown Deer does. Like I said, Bradley Tech. But yeah, a lot of them have those classes, and I always tell people, you don't have to sign up for some 4-year school and all that stuff. WCTC, a trade, MATC, you know, and you're going to come out a lot cheaper than spending $30,000, $40,000. So there is schooling out here that will provide the the routes to get in this lane.
Right. So, what is your advice for someone who may want to do something, even starting in high school? Because, like you said, like the absence in our communities, especially, and you may have a desire. Like, what would you advise for some of our young people who aren't even at college yet?
Yeah. So if you're 14 to 18 and you're in high school and you're like, look, I like this route, I want to look more into it, or my school doesn't have it. Here's a little thing that we have. We all use it for everything. Google, YouTube, they have tutorials on how to do all of this stuff. If I knew a smidgen of what I know now, a lot of places just want you to have the experience. Do you know this?
Right.
You got a high school diploma, but you know how to do this. They take those people now, because in this field, they're always looking for someone to fill these voids of, we need people to actually sit down and do this work.
Right.
And the way the world is going now is they're paying people to do it at home, because all you really need is a laptop, and you can do this at home. And I mean, now it used to be like you had to do it for just like local. I've never worked in Milwaukee. I've always worked in surrounding Waukesha, Jackson.
Right.
South. It's never in Milwaukee, but now you got to think like I get people emailing me from Texas and Germany, and they're looking for people because now people can do this from their home. But the key thing is just like you have to just use your resources.
Right.
MATCs, your WCTC, things like trade schools. Look into trades. You don't have to go to your Marquettes.
Yes.
You don't have to do all that, spend all that money.
Yep. And I think I know for me, that's what I grew up knowing, because my parents were like, oh, you got to go for a year, and then I just didn't know, like especially during the series of learning everyone's careers, you're really surprised by, wow, okay, I didn't have to go that 4-year route.
So much out here.
Right. Could you, just backing up a little bit, CAD, what does that stand for?
Computer Aided Drafting and Design.
Okay.
CADD. It's always capital.
Okay, CADD.
I mean, it's called, like, the program is called AutoCAD, which is Auto CAD.
Yeah.
But the courses are called CAD CADD because it's drafting, which is drafting up the blueprints and everything, and then it's design, which is designing everything too. So they teach you all the elements. So because drafting is basically learning how to dimension, learning how to do, putting certain things on paper that people can design it off of. But you're learning both.
Okay. And so how long have you been in your field of work?
And this is how I break it down in a weird way. So my son will be 21. I got into this when he was 6 months.
Wow.
Well, I graduated. And I got my first job when he was 6 months. So I'll be going on 21 years.
Wow.
21 years come August.
And just, I guess, knowing about your schooling and things like that. Okay, and I think we already discussed this. So you could just do it in 2 years, and then you're doing kind of not even internships, but okay.
So after my 2-year program, I got my first job. I think I graduated March, but I was still working for the county at the King Center.
Okay.
And I got my first real job in August, and all I had was that 2-year associates.
And how much were you making?
At that time, I think I started that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think I started at like $16 an hour.
That's really good still, though.
Yeah, I was 20 years old. I started at $16 an hour, and I was in a career field. I wasn't, it wasn't just a job. It was a career. So it was great for me with a 6-month-old.
Right, and then so how much do structural engineers average about now?
Oh man, So now you can go anywhere from 50,000 a year to 110.
Okay.
Depending on your experience level. I'm very experienced, so you can do the math.
Yeah.
So,
and so what barriers do you feel like you face in getting to where you are today?
You kind of have to get the only barriers I really faced was probably I'm not gonna say no. There was myself getting out of my own way, kind of learning not to blend with other people, but learning to become more professional.
Okay, and are you talking about like your peers or the other people? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm like, I tell people all the time, like, I was a kid, I was from the ghetto, I spoke in Ebonics and everything, and when you walk into these companies, they accept it, but you will hear things you don't want to hear. I'll say that.
About you.
Yeah. Even in school, like I went from John Marshall, probably 95% African American school, to Greenfield, where it was ITT, where in my class I was the only person that looked like me. So it was different because I had an oral communications class, and I remember giving a speech, and we had to like get up and just give these like random speeches. Write something on this topic. It was just to get you comfortable with speaking in front of me.
Right.
And every time I would talk, it was always snickers and laughs and blah blah blah. And of course I used to be like, whatever. It got me. It would get me. But it was different being the only person that looked like me.
Right.
Being the only person who understood me. So that was a huge barrier. Like just knowing that you're gonna face some things that you haven't faced before, and you're gonna be alone when you face these things. You can go home later and call your mom or your dad or whatever, but when you face these things, you're going to be alone. So that was just very huge for me. That's kind of probably the only barrier. When I go to companies, I'm still the only person that looks like me.
Yep.
So that's why I want so many young black African American men or women to follow this road, because it's a lot of money out there. You can still be fly, you can still be cool, you can still drive a nice car. It's out there for you, but you just got to know there's going to be some hardship in this road. Like you're going to face some things that's like, I ain't never seen people look at me like this or talk to me this way.
What kept you going? Because sometimes it is intimidating when you're the only one.
I used to have people go, "Why are you always smiling?" And this ain't meant to be a tearjerker or nothing. But growing up, the way I grew up, there was not a lot to smile about. When I got older, I was just like, my grandma always said, "Don't let anybody steal your smile." So I always smile. I'm always happy. I try. I put my best foot forward, and I tell people like I always smile because there's nothing to be sad about. Like, I'm getting up and going to work and making money. Why am I sad? Yeah, I'm tired like everybody else, but man, if you can't have fun doing what you're doing, you ain't gonna like it.
Right, right. It's real good advice. Anything about your journey that surprises you? Or
Me?
You.
Me?
Can you explain that?
You probably heard it so many times in this short conversation, but I wasn't the kid in high school who was just the book smart kid with the 4.0s. That wasn't me. I took the approach of education a totally different way. I was a kid.
Right.
And I did kid things, and I did not listen to the advice that was given to me by people who were older than me. I had to do it my way, and I bumped my head a million and one times. So the biggest surprise is me outgrowing the elements that was supposed to keep me down.
Right.
Just keep striding. I kept going, and I started looking at things like, I've seen things that a lot of people from my neighborhood have never seen. Been places they've never been. Life gets a lot better when you open your mind. So
right.
I am like my biggest surprise. Like, look where I am now compared to who I was.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say is your biggest success thus far?
Being able to ride through Milwaukee and see certain things and saying I did that.
Can I get some examples?
Have you ever been down to the Riverwalk?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know down off of Water Street, there's the Riverwalk. Has those nice rails with those that net. I did that.
Wow.
Holy Redeemer, when they built the Boys and Girls Club, I did all the stairs in there. And then when you drive down Hampton, they have that long rail with the circles and the dot. I did those. There's numerous buildings downtown where I designed the balconies. Let me see. So now a big thing in Wisconsin is the festival foods. They're coming up.
Yep.
I've done probably 3 or 4 of those.
Okay.
So that's I love I can put you in my car and go, I did that. You know what? And I'm like, I did that. You know, that's when I was back in my younger years doing this, and I was single, that was my go-to on dates. That was my go-to. Like, see that right there? I did that.
That's so funny.
You know.
Are you working as a part of a team? Not to take away your shine, but like, what does that look like? Your day to day in art. I know that you said in the beginning that you may work sort of on along the side of like an architect, like your first their idea maybe, and then it comes to you, or what does that look like when you get a project?
So when I get a project, it basically comes from another firm. There's projects out there right now, and what my company does is we'll bid on them. We can do this for this amount. Everybody will be like, we can do this for this amount, we can do that for that amount. If we win the bid, now it comes to our project managers, who these are people who are in charge of the project, but their job is to basically get me everything I need to design this the right way. So if something's missing out of the drawing, if I open up the drawing and I go, okay, it's telling me it needs a connection here and here and here, but it don't tell me what size bolts. I need you to find out. So I got that person to work. That's their job. They strictly work on getting me the information I need from the contractors. So that's handed to me. You get a piece of paper, you're like, boom, you open it up, you go through, talk to the project managers, get what information you need. From there, I will just start, I'm in the structurals, I'm gonna start designing. I start designing, I have to get them out a anchor bolt plan.
Okay.
Because if there's a column, or you got guys got columns out here, a column, it has a base plate that it sits on top of. So what we do is we provide them with an anchor bolt plan. So when they're laying all the concrete, those bolts will go into the concrete. So we can just come and take those columns right on the bolts, and then we just tighten it down.
Okay.
So we get them anchor bolt plans. After the anchor bolt plans, we give them all the structural plans, all the details of beams, joists, decking, the lintels. That's the thing I was saying, goes over the doorways. Those are called lintels, or they may call them headers. Elevator steel, if there's elevator steel that needs to be provided by us. And once we send all that out, once I get that all drawn up, it may take, depending on the job size, the job can take me a week to 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, depending on how big it is. I'll send that out back to the company. Here are my approval drawings. They have to look all that over and approve, okay, yeah, this is what we want, this is what works. They send it back to us. If something doesn't work, they redline it. No, we want this size, no, we want that. And then they'll say approved as noted. Or they can just reject it and say, nope, that's not it. That's rare.
Okay.
You would totally have to like not be paying attention to get it rejected.
Right.
9 times out of 10 is coming back approved or approved as noted, which means they changed a few things.
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes I have to ask the project manager, hey, I need this information. They will send out an RFI, which is a request for information.
Okay.
We don't have this information, we need it. They'll send that out, it'll come back. We'll incorporate that while we're going, we'll incorporate that, but if it comes back after the fact, okay, well, we had to send that out so we can keep this ball rolling. And when that came, it's afterwards, so we'll incorporate that. Sometimes they'll mark that up on the drawing too, like, this should be this size according to RFI 1. Okay, boom. We know that now. When you get it back, you make the changes. If it comes back clean, now you got to get it ready for the shop, which is going to build. They got to cut these beams. They got to put the holes in these beams. They got to form everything. If there's plate, they got to cut it. Things like that. So I have to get everything ready out for erection. It has to go into fabrication. They build everything. Then it goes out to the erectors. They build everything.
So are you doing like a couple of projects at the same time, or you're really focused on the one?
No.
Okay.
So now you'll have like one project that may be out for approval.
Yep.
You're not sitting there waiting.
Right.
You'll jump into another one. Now you're in this one. This one may come back while you're in the middle of that one. So you gotta say, okay, this has to go on hold because I have a deadline for this one.
Right.
So now this one has to go on hold. It goes to the side. I'm jumping back in this, get this out so it can meet the deadline because everything has deadlines. Concrete has to come out, be poured, steel has to go up, walls have to go up, drywall has to go up, so everything has deadlines because they have to order materials, things like that. So when I get that back, I got to jump back into it. Got to turn my mind off from this, jump back into this project, knock that out, get it out, pull this back, turn my mind back on this.
Yeah, I mean, you're identifying other skills. You need like the
you got to be able to multitask. You have to be, and I struggled with that for a while. I used to be like, oh, I'm working on this, and now y'all do this, and now I got to turn this up. But you have to be able to do it. You got to be able to turn. And I've learned in my later years. When I was younger doing this, I hated it. But my later years, now I'll get that drawing, I'll go, I stopped at this on this date. This is where I stopped at.
Okay.
So when I open that drawing back up on my computer,
then you know.
and I pull that up, I stopped right here. Now I know where to jump back in at. And then I'm not lost. Because if you don't do that, it can take you a full day just to catch back up.
Wow, that's a lot. And I'm thinking too with schooling, like how was that? Like getting all that information because, you're good at drawing, but to really like hammer down with school and learn all of these details, and I'm sure you're learning then through working, but like how was that for you?
It was when I first got that first job, my head engineer came to me and was like, everything you learned in school, forget it. Because all companies aren't the same.
Right.
Everybody has their own standards. We can't do our things. I mean, some things are going to be the same but everybody just does things differently. So when you get to a company, what you know from the last company may not be
right.
And now you got to forget that and learn how they do it. You have the skills to already be creative and do the job, but now you have to learn that company. It's the same thing with school. Like, I knew how to draw, and I love putting a pencil to a paper and making something. But you kind of got to go, that's freehand, that's just off my mind. Now I have to learn how to technically do it off of instructions. And that's basically what it is. You're just following instructions. If you can open up and build an IKEA cabinet, you follow them instructions, you're opening up a book and you're following instructions. Your pages in there say, draw this way. You're going to draw a line down 10 inches. You're going to draw it over 45 inches. You're going to draw it back up 17 inches. Now you just got to connect that line to that line. It breaks it down just like that for you. So it's just basically letting go of, okay, I know how to draw, so what? But you got to let that go and you got to follow the instructions. That's it.
Okay. We are approaching a half an hour of a lot of good information. One of my final questions is, what is the passion or the interest that drives you to keep in this career? So just, what's keeping you going, motivated?
I get paid. I get paid well. Like, this career has turned into something that's it transformed my life, and it keeps transforming my life. And it's the passion about it is, I still have that little boy creativity in me that just wants to freehand draw. But this career takes that and just bottles it up and shapes it and molds it into being creative and drawing the necessary things to get our city built up, right?
Right.
So it's just the passion of just being creative and seeing what my mind was thinking come to life.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any final words for our young people here who, may not know what they want to do? May want to be that baseball star, basketball star.
Yeah. Just like I said, probably 90% of the kids now leaving high school, you don't know what you want to do. Find what you're passionate at and let it pay you.
Yeah.
Find what you're good at and let it pay you. It doesn't even matter. You don't have to go into it. If you love cars, and you love painting cars or building cars, go into auto mechanics. If you love it, you're gonna be passionate about it, which means you're gonna put your best foot forward and you're gonna do the best job, and that's gonna get you the best life, career, pay.
Yep.
It's gonna get you those things. We all don't, like, I grew up and all my friends did what every other young black or male or female did in the hood, and they turned to drugs and selling them and all that, and that money looks good. That's called fast money. As fast as you get it, it's gone. And there is no retirement plan in that. But here, there's a retirement plan. There's a way to set up your future, your kids' future, and just have a good life. That's basically it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Anthony, for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.